Well, hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to get more organized or organized for more success. This is the part two. If you joined me last time on our webinar, part one, we talked about a lot of great ideas. This time I want to continue with some thoughts for you, and of course, I want to open it up so if you have questions or if you have anything you want to talk about, you'll feel free to contact me at the end of this presentation. I will give you my contact info. By the way, my name is Christine and I am with Irvine One. I am the assistant to Hanshi Turner here in Irvine, and I am thrilled to be able to, meet y'all and help out if there's anything I can do. All right, let's get started. So last time in part one, we talked a little bit about getting organized, as I said, and it's my hope that when you get done watching these two webinars or listening to them, that there might be just something good you could take away from it that you might be able to apply to your own life or in your own dojo, hopefully. So we'll just recap a little bit. For last time when you were here listening, we talked about how being organized gives you more time. And being organized also gives you more freedom to enjoy your life. So when things have their place and when clutter is reduced, energy just flows better in your workspace and your home. So when you've got a system in place to handle all the regular aspects of a business like ours, you'll find it gets easier over time to maintain the system, and you'll have more time to focus on what's really important to you, like growing your business, for example. By taking the time to set yourself up right the first time, be it physicality by, ordering your environment, let's say, maybe you're setting up your equipment room so that all the pads and kicking shields and things are, off the floor in the place where you can access them easily. That might be one person's goal. Or whether it's something as elaborate as designing a, marketing flyer or your website. It could be anything, but being organized is going to be really critical to your success. Now, it's also easier than you might think to do. Today, I'm going to share some tips and some ideas that you could implement right away if you want to. Many of the ideas I'm going to share are going to be made available to you in our Google Drive. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end and how you might be able to get into that and see some of these exciting ideas that not only I'm going to share with you, but many of us have contributed to. We're also going to discuss how to get copies of some of the things I'm going to show you today that will be in that Google Drive. They say that outer order leads to inner calm, and I believe it's true. I mean, how many times have you put something down, whether it was keys or a phone, for example? We talked about that in part one of the webinar, only to waste precious time searching for it. If it only had a home, you would know where to find it. So in our first webinar, we talked a little bit about finding a home for everything. Even receipts need a place to go. And here in this image, you can see there's a little drawer section, and at the top, there's receipts here. That's where we throw our receipts when we bring them back from whatever it is that we're buying or doing. And so it makes it easy to recall them when you need them. And what do you do with them anyway? They're always everywhere, but it's nice to have a spot to put them in. Even while we were preparing this webinar, Hanshi Turner heard me talking and practicing some of this, and he became inspired to even tackle a basket that we have in the office that's been begging for attention. It's a basket full of papers that need to be filed, and it's sort of a catch-all, I guess, for items we don't exactly know what to do with right at this moment. And yes, having one basket of I don't know what to do with the stuff yet is actually part of being organized for us, because that's like a way station. Of course, when your whole office is a way station of disorganization, then that's not helpful. But when it's purposeful, it's intentional, then we only have one catch-all basket. It serves as a temporary holding space until we can put things where they belong. It's just part of our organization plan. So you can do that too. But find a home for those important things. That way they'll always be easy to recall. Now, I just want to challenge you guys to think of one area, just one right now, in your dojo. Probably close your eyes and open them, or think for a second. The first thing that comes into your mind is probably what needs the most focus. But anyhow, think of what needs your attention. And now I would like you to pull out your calendar, let's say, and schedule a day and a time to work on that. Write it on your calendar like an appointment, when you're going to approach it. Let's just say, for example, maybe you want to organize your display case. You've been meaning to do it, but something always seems to keep you from the task, like everything else probably. Schedule it. It's an appointment with the display case. Another way to do it, I've found that helps me sometimes, is to just set a timer. We all have smartphones, a lot of us, just set a timer on there. Oftentimes the problem with getting started on something is that we don't feel we have the time to devote to a project. We've got way too many priorities. And so my answer to that is just set a timer. When you set a timer, what happens is you can see just how much you can accomplish in 10 minutes or maybe 20 minutes of time. At the outset, you're setting aside time for it. So it's amazing what kind of breakthroughs can happen in just a few minutes. And also it's because it's become your focus that you'll find yourself, maybe even if you hate it, it's only going to last like 10 minutes. But basically, the good news is it's only 10 minutes. So you will have made progress, though, just by getting started. And that's really a lot of times half the battle. Studies show that once we engage in a task, we actually gain momentum. And oftentimes we'll find we actually want to continue the project past the time we set. So I find that even though my timer might go off, I sometimes am into it by that time. My brain has got ideas and now I'm working on something. So that's also a good thing if you have the time. But by scheduling it, you just sort of make it a priority for yourself. And so, for example, I also say here, if you notice, clear the clutter in your mind. I talked about that a lot in part 1. Write it down. It seems so simple, but it's so effective. If you start to think a lot of things, make a list, write it down. If you go to bed at night and your mind is swimming about all the things you need to do, just write it down. Keep a pad of paper by your bed. It'll free your mind and it'll be there in the morning. So that's a tip I'm carrying through into this webinar. Also, you want to ask yourself some questions. Let's say, for example, that we want to just do our display case. That's just a quick example. I think a lot of people have those. Ask yourself some questions about your display case. What am I displaying in that case, for one? Why am I even displaying it? And what am I actually hoping to accomplish by having a display case? Am I hoping to increase my retail sales? Am I just offering items for sale in the Ninja store? I know that's what we use most of our display case for, is those items for the kids. Am I just displaying decorative items that I picked up maybe from a trip in China or something? We've got that too on a top shelf. Figure out the purpose of the case. If you want to offer retail sales, more t-shirts, more patches, merchandise, you might want to think about how it shows best to the person who's going to be looking at it. Make sure that whatever you're displaying is grouped with like items. They're visible, they're easy to see, kept clean from dust. They're in an area of the dojo that people can pass by, for example. It's not tucked away somewhere in a corner where nobody can get to your display case. Think about what you want to accomplish with that goal. Ask for inputs from others who've, done it before you and been successful. See what's working for people. How are you able to sell so many t-shirts? Oh, it's our display case. It's the way we've merchandised things. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom out there. So I'm just using a display case as an example because most of us have one. The other thing I think you should do is try to take a look at your dojo with new eyes. Imagine you're a prospective student. You walk up to the dojo, you put your hand on the door. Okay, you swing the door open. What do you see? This might sound obvious when you walk into the dojo every day, but we do start to miss details after a while because we see it every day, the same thing. What stands out to a new person is not going to be the same thing that's going to stand out to someone who's used to coming in there every day, okay? Next time you walk into a store or a business somewhere else, notice what you notice. That's what I say. Notice what you notice. Now enter your own dojo. What's the first thing that let me go back. I'm getting ahead of myself. What's the first thing that you notice in your lobby? Try to see the entry area there with new eyes, like a prospective student would, because they're not looking at things the way we do. Is the area inviting? Is the floor clean? Is the lobby area neat and tidy? Is there a place to store shoes? Is there seating for people? In our dojo, we have a sign that says, please take your shoes off before entering the dojo. What do you want your entry area to say to a prospective student? What vibe are you trying to give off? Or what message do you want to send? By the way, if you want a copy of our Please Take Off Your Shoes sign, I am going to upload that to the Google Drive, so you'll be able to get a copy for yourself. And you can print it out and stick it in a frame if you want to. Some people don't, but a lot of people like it. Think about the culture that you want to create. Is yours a family school? Do you want to focus more on a particular type of student? You can set up your entryway to attract the type of people you want to train in your school. For many of us, the bread and butter is the children. So our dojo we want to create a family-friendly vibe, but also one that attracts adults as well as children. So sometimes the way that adults come into our school is via the children. You know, a lot of you may or may not know that I started off as a mom, bringing in some little kids, because basically it was another mom and I would hang out together. Our kids were in preschool and, kinder or whatever, young kids, and they were going to try karate. So I was like, sure, we'll try karate too. Why not? And then I was in there like 3 times a week, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I live here. And it was a lot of times because, you can only go to Costco so many times, honestly. And you can only do errands. Eventually, you're back in there all the time watching. So, and of course, parents want to watch their kids. So the reason why I say this is because I started off as a parent. And then all of a sudden, one day, I'm like, that looks like it'd be kind of fun. And the rest is history. I'm sitting here giving you guys a webinar 15 years later. Who would have ever thought? But the idea is you just never know. Parents do come in through their children. So we want to create a family-friendly vibe. Now, in this slide, there's a little boy sitting here. And one of our common goals and evolutions I think that we all share is that we want growth in our schools. And we want to retain our students. We want them to stay. We want people to be happy. We want to grow our count, but we want to keep our existing base. So it's all about, in my mind, creating a culture that basically provides this or helps you to accomplish this goal. We had to make some changes to our school. Oh, first of all, let me go back to the idea that perception is reality for people. When it comes to making a purchase, to pursue a relationship, to get involved in a community, let's think about it from the perspective of the customer, because your student is actually a customer, or their parent is, let's just say that, if they're a child. Oftentimes we think of a customer as somebody who buys something in the store. How are we really that different? We provide a service, of course. We're not that different, though. Even in personal relationships, we have a perception of who somebody is. And then we decide if that person is someone we wish to have or continue to build a relationship with. We're always somewhat in a state of decision, though. And it's never really greater probably than it is at the beginning when you're first meeting somebody. All the information isn't in yet. You're still collecting data, sort of. It's the first impression thing. There's an old saying, you never get a second opportunity to make a first impression. So what we do to make that impression a good one really does matter. And since a lion's share of our business is dealing with children, it's important to note that the one making the decision is often the parent. They want the kid to be happy, they want to achieve their goals, and they're going to pay for that if that's going to happen. We also have a lot of adults enter, like I said, and transform into students, and we appealed to them initially for their child, like in my case, but we had enough of a draw to attract them into training as adults. So think about what kind of culture you want to create in your dojo. Now, I'll tell you something. We have a family culture, like I said. We made some changes to the front to make it more inviting for people to stop and relax. I pointed out in my last webinar about how we transformed our entry dojo, our waiting area, and we put a coffee maker and we did all that stuff. If you want to know more about that or how I could maybe, help you think about how you could approach your entryway or your, waiting space, I'd be happy to. Just ask me. I'd be glad to share some ideas and hear about what you're thinking. But anyway, you want to create a comfortable atmosphere for people that are going to stick around 3 times a week. I'm telling you, for a parent, if you make it a place that they will want to be, it's going to make a huge impact. And they're going to bring friends and family in. A thing parents want to know, though, as the parent myself who was thinking these exact things, 1, will my child be safe here? Now, the good thing we have, which is really great going for us, is that we have voluntary live scan Department of Justice background checks that are available for us to do, and we can provide certificates that show that we've been checked. And that gives some peace of mind for people if, it's a concern for them to know. You can reference that. And that's kind of unique. We also have CPR first aid certifications that we've done and that we are displaying on the wall. We mention that sometimes if a parent seems like that's important to know, if they're very safety oriented. People want to know who's teaching their child. More than belts, accomplishments, and stripes. Here's the certificates I was mentioning. I was on the wrong slide, but this is after you get your Department of Justice live scan and everything's cool, then the For Us Ranch folks are so awesome. They made this certificate of completion so we can show somebody something tangible for them to see that that procedure was followed. And over here, we've got our CPR and first aid certifications for our school. We basically frame them and put them up in the front. So even if we don't point them out, people can see that. And it just shows a more of a concern for them and their safety. People also want to know who's teaching their kid. I was telling you that a minute ago. Like, are you somebody that has good personal hygiene? Make sure your uniform's clean. These things seem kind of obvious, but believe it or not, I've run across some cases where it really wasn't. And let me just say, it's not as appealing to work out with somebody or to be taught by somebody maybe who isn't, using good hygiene or cleaning their uniform regularly. So present yourself the way you want to be seen in your person, in your dojo. Another thing you can do that's really important is to keep track of when the restroom was last cleaned and make sure to attend to it throughout the day, because I've even heard stories of parents coming in and asking to use the restroom, and then that was sort of the litmus test. If the restroom was clean enough, then they would go ahead and proceed with the intro or the sign up. But that was really important because it was a sign kind of how orderly and all of that the dojo was running. And we are always talking about self-control and focus and these various principles that are so important that show a sense of order. And so we want to be able to display that in our environment that we create for people. And don't forget, they're using those new eyes. I used to work for a company that years ago, they did janitorial supplies and chemicals and stuff like that, and they would have people go in and sit down in the restroom stall and look at the floor, because people walking in and out see different things. So that's why we get into that whole business about the restroom. Now, in fairness to those of you who've come to Irvine 1 recently, today we had a bunch of leaves blow in the door. When you have hundreds of people coming through every day, it is definitely a chore to keep up with it. That's why we have this little chart here. This is sort of a daily actions planner to help you kind of make sure you're hitting all the highlights. There's the obvious things, and then there's the not so obvious things about cleaning the dojo and stuff. So this is available on the Google Drive. And of course, we're always trying to do our best, but if we're more organized, it helps us hit more of those important things and do a better job. So parents like things to be as clean as possible, and I like to create a culture where a parent can come to me if there's an issue and feel free to share it, so that way we can work on it. Another thing people are thinking when they come in the door as far as a parent goes is, if I'm coming to this dojo as a new student, this is something you should think for yourself, would I pay $200 a month to train here? So you want to create an environment that supports the value of what you're offering. I mean, your training is worth a lot, but you want it to speak that to them without you having to tell them. Not just the way you teach, but your environment you're providing should be of a quality where they're feeling, hey, I'm getting a really good value here. And it's just sort of subliminal, I guess you could say. It speaks to them in addition to what you're doing. So kind of like going to Nordstrom's or something. When you go to Nordstrom, you're going to pay a little more, let's say. I usually go to the Rack personally, but if you were to go into a nice high-end store, you're going to expect to pay more for something, but you're going to expect a certain quality standard. That's sort of what I'm talking about. So they're going to look to see if it's worth it. They're going to perceive whether they think it is. And one way to help make a polished first impression is to create an environment that's conducive to your goals, a nice feeling atmosphere that parents might enjoy to be at as well. So I'm kind of saying the same thing, but you get the idea. Another thing is creating that sense of control, that things are well functioning, that there's order. It's not always easy when all these things are going on at once. What happens when someone says, hey, what happened to my sparring gear? Didn't I order that a month ago? Or, you have stuff like that come up. I've had that experience. So we created this little clipboard idea that's right up there on the front desk. So someone puts an order in, they want something. Not only do we write it down, but we write down when we gave it to them. We check it off, and we make sure it got paid for. It's very important. So this is a sheet that's going to be available for you in the Google Drive as well, to make it super easy for you to track what's going on with your Bushido orders. Of course, you're going to go in the back and put your order in on the computer and all that. But in the meantime, it's up there and people can, you can kind of check off stuff. It just helps you stay more on top of it so that they're not wondering about you when they've placed an order. That was something that can be very awkward and embarrassing. Didn't I ordered my shirt forever ago. So, and it's oftentimes because it slipped through the cracks for us. So now we're on top of that stuff and it's working really well. Place for everything, everything in its place. Here we are. This is a display area in the front of the lobby. These are just some quick hits for you to see some things that we do that help things to be orderly. The display area is because we have lots of different professional parents, different people that want to, network and stuff. So we give them a spot to do that. We put some business card holders and they can fill up their real estate or whatever they do. And people love that. They think that's really nice. They feel like it's part of the community. So that's something easy you can do for a couple bucks. Get some little card holders and let them display their cards. The shoe rack, that keeps things orderly. When you walk in the door, everybody knows the rules. Take your shoes off, leave them here. That helps a lot. And because we provide a rack for them, it makes it a lot simpler. Oftentimes they're overflowing onto the floor like here, but it's just a way to create order in your dojo. The electrical tape thing, why did I put that in there? Oh, I don't know, because we do stripes in the drawer so they're organized. We put hooks for our red belts that help out because they come, we don't give them a red belt to keep. If they're helping out, like assisting in a class, sort of our storm team type of thing, we keep the belts here and that way we can rotate them as we need. And it's always good to have a lost and found. How many times do you find random items and nobody ever claims them? Well, at least you can contain them in a box marked lost and found. All I did is put some contact paper on a brown paper box and stick a label on it. And it's been helpful in some ways, at least to contain the items, if not to be able to, have a place for people to go and look for stuff when they can't find it. Another thing, too, a good system shortens the road to the goal, that's for sure. Another thing I think is really important idea and works really well for us is to have a station for information. That's what I call it. It's basically our little spot by the phone where when someone walks in the door, I have a packet ready to go. I've got walk-in packets that I pre-prepared ahead of time in advance, a whole bunch of them. Like while you're sitting there, if you're watching your show or whatever you're doing, put those packets together at night or have someone do it for you. And then they're all ready to go. You have enough for the whole month, all the walk-ins that could possibly come in. And have your sign-up packages ready to go. I get some of those really nice red folders from Bushido. You can see down in the bottom section here. You see there's the walk-in info right here. That's this section. And then the new student packets are down here, the red. I save those nice folders for when someone actually signs up so that there's a little bit more of a, nicer package of handing them over all the papers and things that we give them that welcome them into the dojo. It's a little bit more of a, nicer presentation. But we prepare all this in advance, so we always have everything ready to go. I'd be happy to share what I put in my packets at some point, and I will be uploading those to this Google Drive as well that we keep talking about. So if you want to use them, why reinvent the wheel? If people have good stuff, make some changes on it and then use it if it works for you. Saves a lot of time, and if people are already having some success, why not try to do that? The idea is that you have everything ready to go. Here's my walk-in packet. I didn't realize I made a slide for that. It's basically, I have a professional program flyer. This is a great flyer that was kind of adapted off of a lot of info that you'd find on the website. And basically it just talks about USSD, who we are, what we do, that type of thing. And then we also have our class schedule, of course, so people can see when the classes are. And I have a spot for them to write down the time of their intro or their first lesson. I also have About Us. This is kind of a little bit wordy, but it basically is sort of a quick bio on Hanshi Turner. Thanks for joining us, or thanks for your, inquiring. We break down information about the instructors, just a real quick little, our instructors have a cumulative 150 years of training. Now, however many years you have, you can put down. It sure adds a little bit of a punch there. I put down, there's a little bit about Shaolin Kempo and about kids programs and adults and stuff. And then we clip it all together with a business card. So, or in a brochure, which currently they've been on back order for a while. So when they come back, I usually include that in this walk-in packet. You'll have access to this stuff. This is also the enrollment package I was talking about with the red folder. And we put all the basics in there, a welcome letter, the application. Why not just put, your sign-up paperwork in there as well? So everything's ready to go. I put the patch in there. I give them a little tattoo, whatever. I'm going to have everything in one thing. So when someone signs up, all I have to do is pull out that red thing, hand them the application to fill out and all the stuff they, whatever it is they need. And then, we talk about it, but everything's in one spot. So I'm not going around looking through a file drawer to pull out separate papers for everything. It's already pre-done. It'll save a ton of time, makes you look really polished and professional. Okay, sometimes I write down tasks after I've done them just to get the satisfaction of crossing them off my list. The truth is I do this sort of sometimes. There is some satisfaction in knowing you're getting stuff done. I don't think this was stuff I was going to show you before. I think I'm jumping around here. But in any case, there is a lot of good stuff out there. I showed you about my sign-up package. This is about our Ninja store. There's all kinds of cool ideas. I won't go on to that too much, but if you want to talk about these things, I'd be happy to share some of these good ideas with you, and you can share them with me too and everyone else in our Google Drive. Begin with the end in mind basically means to start each day with a plan for what you want it to come out like, of course. Having a clear vision of your desired direction and destination, and then continue by flexing your muscles to make things happen. Sometimes people don't feel like they have enough time to get organized. Consider your day. We all have 168 hours in each week. I sure hope this is the slide that I prepared and not the one I messed up on. We'll find out here. We each have 168 hours in a week. 48 of those hours we spend working. It's time for bed. 56 hours spent sleeping. 21 hours we're just guessing, eating, personal stuff, chores, all of that stuff. But at the end of all of this, you have at least 15 hours left that you could use each week to make a big difference. So, that's kind of amazing. You can find time if you are organized, if you are not wasting it doing things the difficult way, or searching for something you've lost, or just shuffling through papers like we talked about last time. It's important. The more you have systems in place, the more freedom, the more time you get. And with that time, you can apply it for things that advance you, that move the needle towards your goals of what you want to accomplish. So I would suggest that everybody makes a decision to devote a small block of time to put some systems in place that are going to support your goals and evolutions each week. Just start with one. That's why I picked out the display case. Or open the door of your dojo and look at what you see the minute you walk in. Make it something simple, but that will have impact from the beginning. Break them down into bite-sized tasks that you can tackle bit by bit. Make a list of stuff. Because that's how you eat an elephant. One bite at a time. So focus on those areas that need the most help. And mostly just start. That's the main thing. Just start. Even if you have to just set a timer, 10 minutes, you'll be surprised what you can accomplish here and there by just getting started, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And it will feel good to accomplish something and be able to cross it off your list and be able to benefit, most importantly, from the systems you've set up for yourself. So my little task for you, this is the thing about setting up the time. Boy, I'm off on my slides, but in any case, set up a time. I have to throw in some quotes. I have way too many quotes. Oops, let's go back. My challenge for you would be to go walk in your dojo as a new customer, like I said, new student, new person. Tell me what you see. Close your eyes and imagine what is in your dojo that you want to do to change it, to make it better. And that's the thing you need to work on. Pick something that you want to change or make a little bit better. It's all baby steps, but it can make a big, big impact. And you're not alone, because I'm here, and many of us here, the council and all of your, USSD family are here to support you and help you. So let us do that. Let us do that. Don't reinvent the wheel. Check out what's working for other people. Borrow from them. Use the Google Drive I'm going to tell you about. Use the strength of your colleagues to help you. Ask for support. And you can contact me. I'll do whatever I can to be helpful. Here's my email. Here's my cell phone. I'm at Irvine 1, and I'm always around here or there. I'll see you, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Maybe you just want to run some ideas past me. Maybe I have something I could share that will cut a lot of time down for you. It wouldn't be too hard. So let's have a conversation. Feel free to reach out to me. I know several of you have, and I'm grateful and happy if I can help you. And another way I can help everybody, if you just want to kind of do it on your own, check it out, and is the Google Drive that we mentioned before. Again, you need to have a Gmail account, and you need to have access granted to you through this link that we will send to you, and I'll connect you with the right people. I believe Luis Auza is the person from Mission Viejo that you would likely talk with, and I can help connect you with them if you don't connect directly. And we'll get the link to you. Then you can go in there, and it's like a library of flyers, of forms for the office, of good ideas, of signs. Everybody's sharing in there. And you'll have the opportunity to add things to it as well. And so that way we can all benefit from each other's knowledge and spend our time doing the A work, as I like to say. That's teaching the lessons and doing the good job for everybody so that we can all benefit and have greater success. So I hope you found something in here you could take away. And again, feel free to reach out to me. So thanks for your time. Hey, everybody, it's been really great sharing, and I wish you the best of success. Thank you for listening.